This is a movie-style wormhole from the inside, and it's made entirely in Adobe After Effects. Hey, and welcome to Making Wormholes. This is an effect we've all seen in countless sci-fi shows and movies, and in the case of Doctor Who, it's the shot I've been trying to recreate since before Christopher Eccleston exploded onto our screens in 2005. I spent months using Cinema 4D Studio and its pyrocluster particles tweaking the look, and I think I got pretty close. Just in time for Matt Smith's Storm Tunnel. It's an effect I've come back to again and again, but at the heart of it, it always felt like a full 3D solution was the only one possible. And that wasn't because of the particles, it was the camera. You see, Cinema 4D has an awesome feature, a tag called Align to Spline. Attaching it to a camera or an object allows you to fly down a 3D path using percentages to set position. The closest After Effects has to this is the awesome Trace Path option in the Create Nulls from Path script, but paths in AE are only 2D. But you know what's not 2D? 3D motion paths. And with a little out-of-the-box thinking and a few simple expressions, I'm going to show you how we can fly down a tunnel of particles. Once we have the motion right, I'll then set up a precomp for my particles, which makes it super easy to swap in different looks. And because I know some of you will be after specific particle tunnels, I'm going to follow up this tutorial with separate ones for all the wormholes you've seen here. Everything in this tutorial will use AE's included CC Particle World effect. But I know from my Galaxy tutorials that lots of you find my videos because you're using Trapcode Particular, so I'm also going to remake this tutorial using that plugin. And I've had a few comments recently about why am I doing this in After Effects rather than a full 3D package, even a free one like Blender. And the truth is, it's so much quicker to get a base look and then tweak the settings in After Effects. In a single weekend I was able to create all these looks. Oh, I've rambled on too long, I don't have time for my usual reading out of a Wikipedia article. Let's just get started. Here I am in AE 1080p comp, and the first thing I'm going to do is create a 3D null by going to Layer, New, Null Object. Make it 3D and then hit Enter to rename it Tunnel Null. Hit P to expose the position keyframes, and in the Z property, set the value to a -4000 pixels, and set a keyframe. Now jump to the 10-second mark in the timeline, 10 seconds is important for later, and set a new Z value to +4000 pixels. So over the course of 10 seconds, our null object is moving 8000 pixels. That's our tunnel length. At strategic points along the timeline, between 0 and 10 seconds, adjust the X and Y properties to add a bit of variation into the journey. When you're happy, click drag to select all the keyframes, right click on them and choose Rove Across Time. This will smooth out the movement as individual positions will move to different points in time, so we get a less juddery journey. Now for our particle emitter. Create another null object, make it 3D, and name it null1. That's important for the expression we'll add soon. Now go to Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Control. Select the effect, hit Enter and rename this to Tunnel Position. Handily, the slider goes from 0 to 100, just like a percentage. We probably don't need it here, but we will for the camera later, and this way we could just make a copy. Hit P to expose the position controls, and then hold the Alt key and tap on the stopwatch to open the expressions area. Use the pick whip to link to the tunnel null's position property, and then type .valueAtTime, note the capitals, brackets, and then use the pick whip to link to tunnel position slider value, and then add divide by 10. And make sure there's a closing bracket. And that's the main part of the trick. Our new null can use the slider to match the position of our tunnel null. I could have not bothered with this bit here, and instead linked the particles off the tunnel null. But this way I can now duplicate null1 for anything I want to position along the 3D path. Set a keyframe now at 0 seconds for 0, and at 10 seconds set another to 100. To get the particles, create a new solid by going to Layer, New, Solid. And then go to Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Control. Hit Enter and rename this Particle Count. It's much easier to have this as a separate slider for a bit later. Set it to 10 for now. And then go to Effect, Simulation, CC Particle World. On birth rate, hold the Alt key and click on the stopwatch. and then add the following expression. If brackets time is less than 10, close brackets, open curly brackets. Yes, I know they're called braces, but curly brackets is more obvious. And use the pick whip to select our particle count slider, divide by 100. CC particle world units are all over the place, so the slider gives me a better sense of scale. Close curly brackets, else, open curlies, 0, close curlies. And now expand the producer section, and if you scroll down and expand this video's description, you'll see I've written out expressions for each of the X, Y, and Z producer points. Go ahead and copy these one by one into CC Particle World's values. And while you're down there, it would be an amazing time to boop the like button and hit subscribe. Oh wait, current subscribers, do not hit subscribe. I lose so many subscribers that way. These expressions rely on the null one layer being named that. But once they're in AE, you can go ahead and rename it if you want, and AE will update the expressions for you. While you're in the producer section, set the radiuses to 0, and set the longevity to 100. In physics, set the velocity and gravity to 0. Before we go into particle, let's make our texture precomp. Go to composition, new composition. And it's up to you, but the bigger the comp here, the more memory everything is going to take. I made mine just 512 pixels by 512. And then make a new comp size solid. And then go to Effect, Noise and Grain, Turbulent Noise. As I've said in other tutorials, turbulent noise is an optimized version of fractal noise, and I'm conscious that I'm making lots of particles, so optimized sounds good to me. Set the type to dynamic, invert it, and mess with the contrast and brightness until you get a cool electric look. Alt-click on the evolution stopwatch and type time times 1000. Make sure the solid is selected, go to Edit, Duplicate to copy the solid, and delete turbulent noise. And then go to Effect, Generate, Circle. Expand Feather and set it to about 15, check Invert, and set the effects blending mode to Stencil Alpha. And now let's convert our solid to an adjustment layer. Click on the Toggle Switches and Modes button, and click in this box. This cuts out the center of whatever texture we drop underneath it. I could probably have applied this one to the same layer as turbulent noise, but later on I'm going to drop in some images instead. Back in our main comp, add the precomp to the start and turn it off. In CC Particle World, Particle, set the type to Textured Faded Disk. Expand texture and set it to our precomp. Set the rotation speed to 45, set the birth and death sizes to 1, drop the size variation to 20%, max opacity to 100%. Make sure the select tool is, selected. Yep, still doing that joke. Expand opacity map and click drag to fill it all in. Set the birth and death colors to white. Okay, duplicate the null 1 layer and rename it to camera null. And now go to Layer, New, Camera. Parent this to camera null, hit P and set all the values to 0. Delete the current keyframes from camera null's slider, and at 10 seconds set a new one to 0, and at the end of the comp set it to about 90. A quick preview and it's all looking a little odd. First let's sort the camera's view. Duplicate camera null and rename it to camera POV. Select the tunnel positions effect and duplicate this, and rename the copy to distance in front. Delete the keyframes and set it to 2. Alt-click on the tunnel position stopwatch, and in the expressions area, use the pick whip to link to camera null's tunnel position, and then add a plus symbol, and then pick whip to our new distance slider. So we've made a new null that will always be 2% further down the tunnel. Hit P to expose the position properties, and then select our camera. Expand the transform properties and alt-click on the orientation stopwatch. And using the expressions libraries, go to Vector Math, Look At, and then highlight from point and use the pick whip to replace this with camera null's position, and replace to point with camera POV's position. A not so quick preview, and we're getting there. Back in CC Particle World, expand extras and depth Q and set the type to fade, and the distance to about 0.7. And then I used Video Copilot's free vibrance effect to give it some colour. And we're done! The beauty about having the particle count as a slider is you can alter it without worrying about setting new keyframes. If the camera is moving too slowly for you, you can try to reduce the particle size so that the tunnel feels smaller, but if that doesn't cut it, on Tunnel Null, add a new slider and call it Multiplier. And set it to 2. Alt-click on the position stopwatch and add the following expression. X equals value, square brackets 0, times, and then pick whip the new slider, divide by 2, semicolon. Copy this for Y and replace the 0 with 1. Copy again for Z and replace with a 2 and remove the divide by 2. Then square brackets X, Y, Z, close brackets. This allows us to use a slider to increase the length of the tunnel, but we also want to increase the wobbles, otherwise we won't notice them. And lastly, let's go to Effect, Distort, Optics Compensation. Check Reverse Lens Distortion and set the amount to 70, so we get a cool edge blurring effect. And that's the whole effect! Depending on what you're going for, you can alter the turbulent noise, even dropping the scale makes the tunnel look different. But you can also forget about turbulent noise altogether. Here's a cool NASA image of a nebula. And here's just a star field. You get the idea. Okay, as promised, next I'll be sharing a Tropico Particular version of this tutorial, and then I'll be following that up with how to make a Stargate, Doctor Who 2005 and 2010, then Interstellar, and then maybe some others. I'm going to cap this series off with at least one tutorial on making the outside of a wormhole. But until next time, damn, I really need a cool sign off. Oh wait, I got one!